sekudala Senegal Kamandle tu sekudala Gela gekas letu esitamandle tu Oma was kokele esitekas letu Oma les.
What is likely to happen is that black people will continue to be poor, and you will get a few blacks filtering through into the so-called bourgeoisie, and our society will be run almost as of yesterday. So that for meaningful change to occur, there needs to be an attempt at reorganizing the whole economic pattern and economic policies within this particular country. PPC believes in a judicious blending of private enterprise, which is highly diminished, and state participation in industry and commerce, especially on industries like mining, gold, diamond, asbestos, and so on, like forestry, and of course, complete ownership of land. Now, in that kind of judicious blending of the two,
Amandla, yeah. Amandla, comrades, let's go. We want to finish, comrades, so that we are looking for whoever can assist us. We are looking for Zwelinzima Vavi to be here. Please. Or Sapu, help us. There is a warrant of arrest. He must come here. We want to finish. We value the phone. You see now, the phone is value, my comrade. So, you warrant, you can into it. Yo. Let's start to work.
Elema segozo kale pasora. Sibuya limpo hazubale amakwala zubalega. Ikosa tizubale zubalega amakwala zubalega. Hilos tu muzubalega. Amakwala zubalega. Sitsinga sibuye lusa amakwala zubalega amakwala zubale amakwala zubale.
Amandla, comrades, we are moving now. We say before maybe we're getting everybody to come in, just to do some few announcements. They are requesting all the NPC delegates from JCBES that they must meet the regional organizer after we are done with this Congress. So they're supposed to be meeting around there, almost behind the reception building there. So those delegates for NPC from JCBES, they know themselves. The regional organizer wants to meet you after this meeting. We're still waiting for the people who are supposed to be leading us in the next item, comrades. You'll just bear with us because they are not here yet. We're supposed to be taking them. Then from there we wrap up.
Hilofa vota yitome. Hilofa vota yitome tasele. Haseya owesi lusa. Hilofa vota yitome. Hilofa vota yitome tasele. Haseya owesi lusa. How we SAFTU tayitome. Ile SAFTU tayitome tasele. Haseya.
Amandla, sorry comrades. I'm not just interrupting only. Actually, you are keeping us in motion after the lunch. But we just want to say there is a phone here that was found in the ladies' bathroom. Most of the phones that came here were from the ladies' bathroom. I don't know. So please, if you know that your phone is being lost, it's here. Since yesterday, we're getting these phones. Comrades, the phone is here. And the fortunate part of it, we have got a photo. When you come here, we'll know that whether it's you or not.
Elizema, Elizema, wewasebenzi, egotalama, isebenzi lamapo, wewasebenzi, ehasbamba, elizema, Elizema, wewasebenzi. Hasbambal, Segotalama, Isebenze lama po, Sebenze. Hasbambal, Segotalama, Isebenze lama po, Sebenze. Eze hasbambal, Elizema, Elizema. Wewasebenze hasbambal egotalama asisebenze lama wewasebenze hasbambal ilizwema wewasebenze hasbambal egotalama asisebenze lama po wewasebenze hasbambal egotalama sebenze lama wewasebenze SAFTU wewasebenze hasbambal ilofafema ilasebe hasebe hasbamba elezwema wewasebenze hasbamba SAFTU wewasebenze hasbambal SAFTU wewasebenze egotalama sebenze lama wewasebenze ilizwema wewasebenze egotalama sebenze lama wewasebenze SAFTU wewasebenze hasbambal ilizwema wewasebenze hasbambal egotalama sebenze lama wewasebenze ilofafema wewasebenze egotalama wewasebenze egotalama wewasebenze SAFTU wewasebenze ilizima, ilizima, wabasebenzi, ilizima, ilizima, wabasebenzi, ilofazima, wabasebenzi, Amanda, Amanda, teta, teta, no pala, teta, no pala.
Amanda, comrades, yeah. Can we go back to our seats, comrades? Please. Okay. Amanda. Amanda. Comrades. Can we just
emphasize kulo muntu wesikhwama esinemali phakathi. Ukuthi bantu manje beyakhona isikhululakise. Nalezi ibuko ezinge ibuko the spectacle or the spectacle.
Amanda. Okay. Amanda. Comrades, can we take our seats? Ligaya ngomunye umhlathi manje. Yabona nawe igcoka ikapisi manje. Nokuboshwa ungaboshwa manje. If you don't take my instructions. Comrades. Comrades, the more the day gets older, things are just getting lost. There is I don't know what you call it, this thing. Sometimes it's a tablet, sometimes it's iPad, I don't know. It's iPad. And then I'm a spectacle somewhere in hour. And then there is a comrade, Olategole phone just now from comrade Wenumsa. I know him ubuya eMpumalanga. So ulahlekele phone just now utibeka ishiye nje. I think it's this size of these phones. And then again there is a comrade abalahlekele camera. And that camera has got umsebenzi. Sasa angayoxosha umsebenzi kuthiwa camera ilahlekile, please. Whatever you get that you seems just that lost, and then you bring it. And we still also have that particular request, comrades. Comrade olahlekele isikhwama, that's the back with the wallet inside, with the money that they're supposed to use to travel. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Siyabonga, comrades, thank you very much to say we are able to work together in terms of those items that are being lost, that they come back to their owners. We believe that even those that were lost, in somehow they will be recovered. Comrades, we are going to take a program forward. What we are going to do now is that the IEC will come on the podium. We're still having that resolution committee that is still working. Is it, what is that? Declaration committee, sorry. Yeah, the declaration committee, not the resolution, declaration committee, they're still working. But now we're saying it's time now to say we call EIEC, and then you know the procedures. When they come here, it means now whoever is sitting in front here must go back, go affiliate here, okay? We have done our duties, comrades. The mandate that was given to us was to take this federation to this Congress. So together with the team that we have worked once more, we want to take this opportunity. Oh, come on. FAU. Hayi FAU sesiphelele phela isikhathi sethu sihamba la.
No, Comrade Chair, we just want to use this opportunity to express
Sure,
words of salutations
sure.
to the interim leadership that is sitting there
Sure.
for the sterling work that they've done,
Sure.
for the work, hard work that they have put in bringing us to the realization of this historic moment.
Thank you. Sure.
We want to congratulate you, the chairperson of the steering committee, for working very hard, especially in steering the proceedings of this historic Congress up to this moment. We also want to congratulate you for having delivered one of the reports to this Congress, and which report was referred to when the Congress did its business. We want to congratulate the entire team that you led for delivering this historic Congress, and history will recognize that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, FAU. Thank you very much. Yeah. Comrades, we are very much humbled by...
Chairperson,
Yes.
I thought you noted me.
I don't even see you. Where are you?
No, you didn't see me, you saw the board.
Where?
When you said,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah, I'm not doing anything which is going to cause acrimony. I'm saying in addition to what FAU is saying, I'm saying that I hope you will not be lost to us. You will be working behind the scenes, because I know that some of you are not elected. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Comrades, we are being humbled by your words of appreciation. Let me say, on behalf of the entire steering committee and the interim leadership, we thank you very much, and working together and being so very much cooperative. We understand that obviously it is not always going to be smooth. Challenges will be there. Even if when you are in a flight, there will be some turbulence, but we managed to overcome that. And we want to thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I thought these properties that are getting lost, now things it seems are getting worse. Now a human being is lost now. But it's found. Mildred was being looked, Mildred from farm workers, but they gave me the indication that they managed to locate her. So things were getting out of hands now. Thank you very much. Can I now invite the IEC on the platform so that they can do their job? Thank you.
Hey, Paula, oh, Bachese, Bachese, Bachese. Hey, Paula, Bachese, Bachese, Bachese. Hey, Paula, oh, 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 Bachese, Bachese, Bachese. Manza.
Oliver, Oliver, mfoga jambo, ya jambo tinasi koti weka. Oliver, Oliver, uye, tinasi koti weka. Oliver, Oliver, moloso. Oliver, Oliver, moloso. Oliver, Oliver, moloso. Oliver, Oliver, moloso. Oliver, Oliver, uye, tinasi koti weka. Oliver, Oliver, uye, tinasi koti weka. Oliver, Oliver, moloso. Oliver, Oliver, moloso. Oliver,
Zabalazon, Zabalazon,
Oliver, Oliver,
Zabalazon,
Yatambo, Tinasi, Kodiweka. Oliver,
Oliver, Wetambo, Tinamo, Yazazi, Kumulekaya, Hauem, Zabalazon, Hauem, Zabalazon, Hauem, Zabalazon, Hauem, Zabalazon. Oliver, Yatambo, Tinamo, Yazazi, Kumulekaya. Oliver, Oliver, Yatambo, Tinamo, Yazazi, Kumulekaya. Hauem, Zabalazon, Hauem, Zabalazon, Hauem, Zabalazon, Hauem, Zabalazon. Oliver, Oliver, Yatambo, Tinamo, Yazazi, Kumulekaya. Oliver, Oliver, Yatambo, Tinamo, Yazazi, Kumulekaya. Hauem, Zabalazon, Hauem, Zabalazon, Hauem.
Tinasi, Kodiweka.
Hauem, Zabalazon, Hauem, Zabalazon. Sabalazo. People shall shout. The people shall come forth. Ewem Sabalazo. Ewem Sabalazo. Ewem Sabalazo. Oliver, Oliver, wait and burn. Amanda! 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 Comrades! Comrades! Amanda! Bopa! Bopa! Bopa!
Okay.
Zizo Zabala, Zizo Zabala, oh changer,
Mantla.
away to, away to, away to.
High discipline, high moral.
Sizo Zabalaza, Sizo Zabalaza, moral. Wem Zabalazo. Hi, moral.
I said they are the processor. No, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Colleagues, as the IC, we are now ready to announce the results of the elections. As indicated yesterday, we only provided you with the nominations report. Now what we're going to do now, we're going to announce and declare the results. I will start first with requesting that those that have been elected, once I announce that they've been duly elected, I would ask them to come and sit here on the stage. And I would request to start from my far left with the first person that I call to start at the far left and come up this way and up until the last person. The first person that has been declared duly elected is the person who contested the portfolio of the National Treasurer, Motswari Lichokgo. Motswari Lichokgo. Thank you. Thank you. Mutsuari Lichoko was elected unopposed. The next portfolio that too was elected unopposed is the portfolio of the Deputy General Secretary, Paledi Muleko.
Sifunu no palate, sifunu no palo di cont'd, sifunu no pala, sifunu no palo di cont'd, sifunu no pala, sifunu no palo di cont'd, sifunu no pala. Sifunu no palo di cont'd, sifunu no pala, tinna, sifunu no palo cont'd, sifunu no pala, tinna, sifunu no palo di cont'd, sifunu no pala, sina you no palo di cont'd. Manda.
The next portfolio is that of the position of General Secretary. The position was won uncontested by Zwelinzima Vavi.
Uthina sifuna umanyano ubumbano phambili.
Hasina luvalo, hasina luvalo, kulento siyenza. Hasina luvalo, kulento siyenza. Hasina luvalo, kulento siyenza.
Oh, comrades. The damage TV, Chong. Comrades, are staging, Chong. Comrades, are staging. Comrades. Technicians, can you please come and sort this? Comrades. Chong.
No compromise. No compromise. No compromise. No compromise, comrades. No compromise.
Thank you. Thank you.
Compromise. Yes.
Thank you.
No compromise.
Thank you. Thank you. The next portfolio is that of the second deputy president. That portfolio was also won uncontested by Thabo Matsose.
No compromise. No compromise.
Hasina luvalo. Yeah. Hasina luvalo. Tabalo. Kodwa izwakala nje mayikhuluma. Testing.
1, 2.
Ah, President. Uyo. My President. Our President. Our President. Our President. Utabalo. Iyo. Utabalo. Iyo. Uyu mongame. My President. Who you President? My President. Utabalo. Iyo. My President. Utabalo. Iyo. My President. My President. Who you President? My President. Utabalo. Iyo. Utabalo. Ewe. My President.
President,
Hi, President.
our President,
Hi, President.
our President,
Hi, President.
who President, who Tabalo, yo,
Don't dance.
who Tabalo, ewe, our President, our President, our President,
Hi, President.
Chingu President,
Hi, President.
Utabalo,
Utabolo.
ewe, Utabalo, ewe, you President, hey President, President.
Anja.
Madam. 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 Tabano. Yo. President. I'm President. Our President.
Hi, President.
Our President.
Hi, President.
Madam.
Anja.
Madam. Our President. Our President. Utabolo. Ama.
Taboyo.
Utabolo. Hi, President.
Oh, hi, President. Hi,
Over to you, I see.
Thank you. Thank you. The next portfolio is that of the first deputy president, and that portfolio was won uncontested by Nomvume Khalakhala.
Lom sabalazo umtale mtana mwakalwa ogo kokobe sabalazo umtale mtana mwakalwa ogo kokobe tu ozonga kakali mtana ozonga Mtwanam ozonga Kakali mtwanam ozonga Kale Lomsabalazo Umtale mtwanam wakalwa Ongo koko Umtala mtwanam wakalwa Ongo koko beto osonga Kakale mtwanam ozonga Kakale ozonga Kakale mtwanam ozonga Kakale lomsabalazo umtale mtwanam wakalwa Ongo koko beto sabalazo umtale mtwanam wakalwa Ongo koko betu ozonga Kakali mtwanam ozonga Kakali mtwanam ozonga Kakali mtwanam ozonga Kakali nomsabalazo umtale mtwanam wakalwa Ongo koko betu sabalazo umtale mtwanam wakalwa Ongo koko betu ozonga Kakali mtwanam ozonga Kakali mtwanam ozonga Kakali mtwanam ozonga Akalim nomsabalazo umtale mtwanam waka Koko lomsabalazo umtale mntwanam wakalwa Koko bethu uzunga akhali mntwanam uzunga mntwanam uzunga akhali mntwanam uzunga Kakalim lomsabalazo umtale mntwanam wakalwa Koko bethu sabalazo umtale mntwanam wakalwa Koko bethu uzunga Kakalim mntwanam uzunga Mntwanam ozonga ngakhali mntwanam ozonga ngakhali lomsabalazo umtala mntwanam wakalwa Koko lomsabalazo umtala mntwanam wakalwa
Madam.
Koko ozonga akhali mntwanam ozonga khali mntwanam ozonga akhali mntwanam ozonga
Thank you.
Lomsabalazo
Thank you. Thank you.
No compromise.
The last portfolio is that of the portfolio of the president. And thank you. Thank you. The final portfolio is that of the president. And the portfolio was won by Mark Shabalala.
Compromise, aye, Samakere. Oh, aye, Samakere. Samakere. Erilayo. Samakerela. Kerilayo. Aye, Sakerela. Erilayo. Aye, Samakerela. Kerilayo. Samakerela. Erilayo. Samakere. No compromise. Aye, Samakerela. Erilayo. Samakerela. Kerilayo. Aye, Samakerela. Erilayo. Samakerela. Kerilayo. Aye, Samakeri. 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 Aye, Samakeri. Kerilayo. Aye, Samakeri. Kerilayo. Aye, Samakeri. Kerilayo. Aye, Samakeri. Kerilayo. Aye, Samakeri.
Erilayo. Yes, Samakeri. Don't compromise.
Aye, Samakeri.
Samakeri. Don't compromise. Ah, yes, Samakeri. Don't compromise. Ah, yes, Samakeri. Don't compromise. Ah, yes, Samakeri. Guerrilla yo. 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 Ah, yes, Samakeri. Don't compromise. Oh, yeah. Samakeri. Oh, compromise. Yeah. Samakeri. Don't compromise. Ah, 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 yeah. Samakeri. Don't compromise. Yes, Samakeri. Don't compromise. Ah, yes, Samakeri. Guerrilla yo. 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 What is it now? Oh, compromise. Ah, yes, Samakeri. Ah, yes, Samakeri. Oh, compromise. Ah, yes, Samakeri. No compromise. Ah, yes. Oh, compromise. No compromise. Oh, compromise. Ah, yes, Samakeri. No compromise. Samakeri. Ah, yes, Samakeri. Oh, compromise. Ah, yes, Samakeri. Compromise. Ah, Samakeri. Compromise. Yes, before being a rely you. No compromise. No compromise. No compromise. No compromise. Amata. Amakerila. Amata. Ah, yes, Amakeri. Amata. Compromise. Amata. Amakeri. Amata. 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 Comrade Amata. Comrade, we thank you. We thank you. We thank you. Amata. Sakarabo. Amata.
How's this one?
It's a couple of presentations.
No, I'm done. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, having considered all aspects of this electoral process, the IEC declares these elections free and fair. And please join me in welcoming your very first duly constituted executive committee. Thank you. Could I then request all the observers that observed the nomination process to accompany us to our table there at the back to sign the results slip. And on behalf of the IEC, we would like to thank you for providing us this opportunity to be part of this history-making occasion. Thank you again.
Kodukani siswe liphelile ityala. Kodukani siswe liphelile itibithethwa. Abonke amadoda abanikazi bekhaya elitsha labasebenzi. Nabonke amadoda omama notata babasebenzi. Nina madoda nathi nalahlekelwa. Nazo nto kamlanjana. Nazo nto kamirha. Abasebenzi uba basoloko bathwele eyona nto bayithandayo apha kuwe yile nto kuthiwa yinyani kuba uzange wathengisa mntu nethemba nakaloku nje awuzuthengisa mntu yiyo loo nto sisitsho nakwento kaJabalala nditsho nakwentombazana karhalarhala ze ndisikolilwele madoda kwidabi le-Labour Brokers kwidabi le-Etolisi yiyo loo nto sisitsho ngolo hlobo sisithi khaniye madoda kwakabharhayi kanti ke niye madoda kwakwagomomo niyocela ubulumko khaniye madoda kumathambo kantom nize kwinyukamba yezinyanya thetha mna ngobhazuka kampele nibambe madoda ningatshoni sithembele kuni ke ngoko hamba phambili ngawe SAFTU phambili viva SAFTU viva viva SAFTU viva tekam
Umuzakazuma sapejula, umuzakazuma sapejula, umuzakazuma sapejula, umuzakazuma sapejula, umuzakazuma sapejula, umuzakazuma sapejula, Umbuso kaZuma siyawutshintsha.
Wow. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma.
Lo mbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Ubona masemba siyawuchitha. Ubona masemba siyawuchitha. Ubona masemba siyawuchitha. Ubona masemba siyawuchitha. Lo mbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Lo mbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Lo mbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Lo mbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Ubona masemba siyawuchitha. Ayi ubona masemba siyawuchitha. Ubona masemba siyawuchitha. Ubona masemba siyawuchitha. Lo mbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphenduka. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphenduka.
Futsek isithuma samini futsek.
Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphenduka. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma
Tatazela khosatu tatazela.
Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso washawa 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 siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuphendula. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha. Umbuso kaZuma siyawuchitha.
Comrades, for safety. The stage is breaking. President, over to you. Thank you, comrades. Comrades, we've got 2 items left. Thank you, comrades. Thank you very much. Thank you, comrades. Amanda. Thank you. Let's return to our seats. Let's return to our seats, comrades. Let's finish the business of the day. Thank you, comrades. Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, and how are you?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just a quick message. For the sake of the program,
Yeah.
because the media wants to do press conference.
No, it's 2 items. Amanda. Viva SAFTU, viva. Viva SAFTU, viva.
Viva.
Comrades, we are left with only 2 items. We are done with the business of the Congress. Can I request order? Comrades, from the table, please. Comrades, order. Thank you, comrades. Amanda. Viva SAFTU, viva. Viva SAFTU, viva. Allow me to call the First Deputy President to address us.
Amandla! Amandla! Viva SAFTU, viva! Viva SAFTU, viva! Masibuye isidima sabasebenzi, masibuye! Masibuye isidima sabasebenzi, masibuye! Thank you, comrades. Comrades, it has been a long day, and we have made a mark. That's what makes me happy today. Ustumo, where he is shaking. You know, to deal with people who are arrogant, these are the results. People dismissing such a huge number of members because they were speaking the truth. So silapha ke ngoku maqabane. Comrades, we're only left to 2 items on the agenda: the declaration and the closing remarks by our president. Thank you very much. Over to you, Comrade ZV.
President, Amandla, Matla, Matimba, Manda, all power, Viva SAFTU, viva! Viva all of her affiliates, viva! Long live the undying spirit of Paul Bazooka Mbele, long live! Before I read, and I must tell you now that that writing is very small for my eyes. Allow me, President, just a little bit to thank few comrades and unions who I think without their contribution, we would have not seen this day where we start a very important milestone when we're turning a very important page in the history of the struggles of the working people. We have been thanking you and we have been asking you all the time to give yourselves a very, very good round of applause for the work well done. If NUMSA had decided to bend on principles, if NUMSA had decided to code down in fear of that nonsensical slogan that it is cold outside, if NUMSA had decided to turn its back on the truth, we would have not been here today. every individual member of the metal workers in Simba Gobi are thanked today for being the catalysts in this long journey we have traveled, a very painful journey, but we've now arrived. If FAU and all of the 9+ unions, those who are here and those who moved back, did not stand up, we would have not been able to unite all of these workers. If all of these other unions, the 20 of them, 22 in fact, did not respond to the pleas and the cries of all of us here to unite on the basis of creating an independent but not apolitical, a worker-controlled and democratic movement, a campaigning, a militant and fighting organization, all of this would have not been possible. But if we were not led by two individuals in the steering committee, Comrade Raymond Mnguni, the first deputy president of FAU, and the first deputy president of NUMSA, Comrade Basil Mcele, who have exactly the same character, cool, collected, solid leaders of the working people, we would have not been here today. Comrade Basil Mcele, I never told you that when the factionalist removed you in the position of the chairperson of KwaZulu-Natal, I pretended that it is all okay. And I went to go and cry in my room. Because I knew that what they were doing that day was the beginning of a process to eat up the Federation live. And I'm very happy that you are here today, solid as we have always been. And thank you to you, and thank you to every other leader of the steering committee. We're missing some of them here, Comrades Busi Sogegana of Sasau, Comrade Gordon Maseko of SAFTU, and Comrade Belinda Ratebe of Sakosu. Thank you to all of those comrades, because without their collective effort, this day would have not been possible. Personal thank you to Comrade Patrick Craven, who when he was asked to go and draft a statement that NUMSA's 340,000 members and the COSATU General Secretary have been dismissed by the factionalists, refused and chose a life of hunger and suffering so that he may stand next to the truth all the time. And thank you very much, Patrick Craven. We don't want to tell you this in your grave. We want to tell you that now. Thanks to the collective of the Operations Center, Comrade Steve Faulkner, Comrade Claudia Mackenzie, all of them the victims of purges in Samu, who went others to Matusa and others to Timausa. Thank you, comrades, for the contribution you have made. And this is where we are, in no small part because of you. Thank you, Tangan. When you celebrated your birthday this recently, I wrote you a very personal message. And I said, you don't know the future. You cannot predict what is going to happen between comrades in the future. But know one thing, that your name and that of your family is written in a very special way in the family of Zwelinzima Mavavi. And I want to thank you today for all of the personal contributions you have made. We have tried to be as inclusive as possible. I'm paid by NUMSA my salary, and I'm very thankful that NUMSA carried the can on behalf of the Federation. But I not for 1 minute made any of you uncomfortable that I, for some reason, have a very specialized relationship with the metal workers. We treated NUMSA, if anything, siyaxabana speta neqet, because we want them to play their role so that we all can be united along the road of what we have traveled over the past 3 days. Thank you, NUMSA. Thank you, all of you comrades, for being here and for making such a contribution in what we are now reading to you as a summary of what we have done together. So I would like the technical comrades at the back to now put the declaration on the screens. I don't have it here. I'm going to have to read it with you. Oh, thank you very much. There it is, comrades. I was in trouble, I must say. This is the declaration of the launching Congress of the South African Federation of Trade Unions, which took place here in Birchwood Hotel in Boksburg, the town of history, where Comrade Chris Hani is buried. Took place on the 21st to the 23rd of April in 2017. The South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, has been born. We passed a milestone in the history of the South African trade union movement at this launching Congress, held here in Boksburg on the 21 to 23 of April 2017. 700,000 workers represented by 1.384 voting delegates drawn from 24 unions and other non-voting unions have taken the first decisive step to building a new, vibrant, independent, and democratic worker-controlled federation, leading the struggle against exploitation, mass unemployment, poverty, inequality, and corruption, and taking up the struggle for the total emancipation of the working class from the chains of its capitalist oppressors. Move. Oh. Delegates formally adopted the name Viva SAFTU, Viva. We adopted the logo Viva SAFTU, Viva. We adopted our red, black, and gold as the colors of the new federation. A constitution was adopted, and a report from the steering committee which spelled out the way forward for the coming period was endorsed. The principles adopted in the Workers' Summit were also adopted. We are building a fundamentally different type of workers' organization, independent of political parties, independent of employers, but not apolitical, democratic, worker-controlled, militant, socialist-orientated, internationalist in character, pan-Africanist from a Marxist perspective, and inspired by the principles of Marxism and Leninism. Our historic mission is to rapidly build a united mass force of workers which will transform their lives and pave the way for the transformation of society as a whole from one based on greed of a rapacious capitalist elite to one run for the benefit of the working class and all of the people of South Africa and the world. But time is not on our side unless we can urgently mobilize our forces to confront the quadruple challenge of unemployment, poverty, inequality, corruption, and revive the trade union movement, turn the tide, and fight back against their appalling conditions of life. We shall slide into a new age of barbarism and even worse exploitation of the working class and the poor. The principles, the character of our new federation. We have built on the foundations, the principles adopted by the Workers' Summit on the 30th of April 2016, made important additions and adopted the following. 1, independence. Unions must be independent from the employers, both in the private and public sector, as well as from the political parties. This does not mean that unions are apolitical. 2, worker control and democracy. Unions must be worker controlled and practice democracy, accountability, transparency, and be tolerant to one another. Within the federation, affiliates must have autonomy. 3, non-racialism and non-sexism unions must fight for the following maximum unity of all workers and reject all divisive and negative sentiment such as racism, xenophobia, tribalism, and ethnicity, all of which are the product of a capitalist system which exploits divisions within the working class. We should welcome and recruit migrant workers into our trade unions. 4, on financial self-sufficiency and accountability and opposition in word and in deed to business unionism, corruption, fraud, and maladministration within its own ranks and in a capitalist society which is inherently corrupt, which we must fight continuously and support workers exposing corruption, e.g. in PRASA and all state-owned enterprises in all of the industries, and as well as the former migrant municipality workers, which we support their struggles to be integrated back into the Johannesburg municipality. Internationalist and anti-imperialist unions must place a high priority on international solidarity. 6, socialist orientation. We committed to fight the exploitation of workers and must be ready to engage in the transformation of our societies to counter capitalist exploitation, inequalities, and poverty. We are inspired by Marxism-Leninism and Marxist Pan-Africanism based on our commitment to socialism, internationalism, all of which are complementary. Number 7, militancy in fighting for the working class and the poor. Unions must be ready to actively campaign for change and to make links with all of the oppressed South Africans. 8, we are committed to build effective organization and representation and organize in the most effective manner, represent the workers and serve their interests. Number 9, we pledge our solidarity with all workers' struggles for better wages and conditions of service, and to save jobs and to do everything possible to save and create jobs. We will take the following campaigns. First, the preamble. Our struggle is to end class exploitation and to dismantle colonial and apartheid capitalism and land dispossession through a program to reclaim land and for a socialist-orientated society. In pursuance of this, we shall take up the following campaigns. Campaign 1, we support the Section 77 notice already submitted by the steering committee at NEDLAC. In addition to the demands on employment, poverty, and attacks on workers, the campaign on the national minimum wage or against the slavery national minimum wage, signed by the Sweetheart Federations, coordinated by the Deputy President, Comrades Cyril Ramaphosa. My apologies. We agree that we will take up the struggle to protect our constitutionally guaranteed right to strike. We demand the banning of the labor brokers, action to resolve the health crisis, for land to be restored to its rightful owners without compensation, for the scrapping of the e-tolls and the toll gates, and to repeal the Employment Tax Incentives Act. 2, workers' pension funds should be invested in projects which build houses for the workers and the poor, not to finance glass office towers in Sandton. We demand an urgent moratorium on all farm worker evictions, as well as the end to the eviction of all of the farm dwellers, and demand that the state restore the dignity of every farm worker and every farm dweller in building better houses for the farm dwellers, better schools, better clinics, for all of those who live in the farms. We resolve to mobilize and campaign to end the abuses they suffer from and the fraudulent attempts to form cooperatives, which are just fronts for the employers. 4, we mobilize, or we shall mobilize workers to oppose ESCOM's plan to close 5 coal power stations Why are you silent? And this closure of 5 power stations could produce or lead to the destruction of between 30 and 40,000 jobs. So we commit ourselves from this platform of the South African Federation of Trade Unions to take up a campaign with immediate effect to defend the jobs of our members throughout in Mpumalanga as well as in every corner of South Africa. We will resist the privatization of Eskom by involving independent power producers, step up the campaign against nuclear energy and develop a position on transition to socially owned renewable energy. We shall convene a bargaining conference to fight the attempts by the Free Market Foundation as well as the employers to liquidate collective and centralized bargaining, and shall mobilize mass action to stop this attempt. We shall resist everything or with everything in our power a developing strategy by the state and their sweetheart unions to deny workers their right to join trade unions of their choice and condemn the employers who refuse to grant unions rights on and the Department of Labor, which insists on a certificate from employers that they are prepared to process debit orders, and to condemn those employers in the public service who collude with COSATU unions to exclude independent unions and maintain a conservative policy. We also call for the amendment to Section 21 of the Labor Relations Act. We shall conclude that, Comrade Patrick. We demand changes to the Pensions Amendment Act and support the call for public servants to be able to use their own pension funds for housing and ensure that the public servants can't get loans because of indebtedness and don't qualify for RDP houses. On gems, shouldn't be a choice, or gems should be a choice, not compulsory. Gems should be a choice, not compulsory, as it is today. Medical aid is exorbitant, and the national health insurance still is a dream. We are not deserting it, but need to we need immediate measures to ensure that the current grievances we have against GEMS are taken up, in particular as we go into negotiations in the public sector. We shall tackle the health crisis, where we see long queues only to receive a Panado, while the minority enjoy first-grade private care. Emergencies are not attended to, and indignity and even death is imposed on the psychiatric patients through outsourcing, we shall demand public quality service like as they receive in Cuba. The education crisis is a core issue. We shall convene an education crisis summit which will focus on the class basis of an information system which generates and celebrates unemployment, poverty, and create workers who are only meant to serve the interests of the capitalists and the state is limited to what the capitalists allow them to do. South Africa's education system is worse than those of many poor countries. We shall fight against food dumping, e.g., the dumping of chickens and the job losses linked to sugar tax, against both neoliberalism and the predatory elites without siding with any faction against the use of the extended public works programs, workers, which is used as a form of increased casualization of work in the local government and exploitation. Instead, we shall demand that all of the workers employed in the EPWs must be integrated into the local government and be paid a living wage so that we can practice the principle that say there shall be equal pay for work of equal value. Banks must be nationalized, in particular the Reserve Bank, not just mineral resources. On recruitment and building our organization, we shall immediately launch a recruitment campaign which must focus on the 76% of unorganized workers, but should also target COSATU sweetheart unions because from now on, we regard any worker organized by COSATU as unorganized, trapped in the marriage that is not of the benefit of workers. We must develop a budget and campaign for recruitment to address the 76%. Shop stewards must be capacitated to take up recruitment and service. Unions should support each other's struggles, and the big unions must give special material help to small unions and not just look after their own interest. No union should expand its scope. We must encourage measures where it makes the organizational sense to do so. But in the meantime, unions in the same sector should cooperate in line with the protocols we have developed as part of our recruitment campaign. There is a disturbing development in Nedlec where they are proposing laws to ensure that all strikes must be peaceful, they say, which ignores the problems that violence in the strike is instigated by the employers who use police and private security to provoke and harass the workers on strike. We strongly condemn the refusal by government to recognize unions which have recruited in the parastatals, which have also recruited in the public service. This they do to undermine the right to freedom of association. Those workers who have joined a union of their own choice must be given organizational rights, including the stop order facilities. We shall declare war on the political interventions by the government to prop up dying unions under their control. We shall discuss with all unions about how best to deliver quality service, working towards the development of a service charter for all the workers in our federation on economic, social, and political crisis. The current crisis, which is simultaneously political, economical, and social, is rooted in the CODESA negotiated settlement, which led to the end of apartheid, which considered don't make that doesn't make sense to me, which led to the end of apartheid, which considered democratic political rights, but ensured that the economy remained firmly in the hands of monopoly white capital through the property clause. Section 25 of the Constitution must go. This led to the capture of the state and the government, the ANC and its allies, by the monopoly capital, and to the adoption of neoliberal, free market capitalist economic policies in the best interest of capital. This started with GIE, which was followed by the NDP, the Treasury, and the successive finance ministers were then the main drivers of this process. At the same time, a section of black capitalists who were excluded from the mainstream capitalist economy colluded with Zuma, his cronies, the public officials which he appointed, and the Guptas to embark on an orgy of looting of public resources and self-enrichment through the manipulation of tenders to both the state and the state-owned enterprises. SAFTU opposes both the factions of the ruling class and refuses to take sides to defend either of the corrupt looters or the mainstream white monopoly capitalists, who are both fighting each other for control of the state and the government for their own selfish class interest and not those of the working class and the poor majority, which they both exploit. We shall never support one butcher against another butcher of the working class. The Federation will oppose attempts to resolve this crisis within the parameters of a capitalist system, which has proven that it has no solution. It is the working class who produce or it is the working class. It is the working class who produce the country's wealth and who are the main consumers of its commodities. The only way out of the crisis has to be through a mass movement of the working class based on a program guided by the principles of our Marxism-Leninism for the nationalization of the mineral wealth and the manufacturing monopolies, the banks, in particular the Reserve Bank, and addressing the land question in the manner that is outlined in this declaration. We are calling for the implementation of the Freedom Charter economic demands. This discussion will be further developed in the ideological and political commission that this Congress have agreed must be established. At this historic Congress, we have asserted our independence and enshrined it in our decision-making process, our constitution. We have insisted that we must be independent, but definitely not apolitical. On the contrary, being independent means that we have to be more ready to explain our positions because these are rooted in the needs of the working class. The new federation can show how different it is from other formations by showing that its principles are not just empty slogans, but a guide for our action, our programs, and all that we do on a daily basis. There are a huge expectation amongst the working class that SAFTU, and therefore we have to live up to the expectation that SAFTU shall bring about a breath of a fresh air in the labor market. We dare not disappoint those workers' expectations. The new leadership that is elected to lead the new federation are conscious of the very different traditions that we now encompassing. Our differences are not our weaknesses. Our differences are not our weakness, but our strength, our advantage, especially if we draw upon them to strengthen our overall approach. Viva SAFTU, viva! Viva SAFTU, viva! Oh Yaruna, oh Yaruna, oh Yaruna, oh Yaruna, oh Yaruna, oh Yaruna. Take it.
Chetsang makwala acheche, acheche, acheche le moraho. Hoya rona ba pelute tata. Chetsang makwala acheche, acheche, acheche le moraho. Hoya rona ba pelute tata. Hoya rona, hoya rona. Oh Yarona, oh Yarona, hoya rona, hoya rona. Chwetsang makwala acheche, acheche acheche le morao, hoya rona ba pelo tse thata. Chwetsang makwala acheche, acheche acheche le morao, hoya rona ba pelo tse thata. Hoya rona, hoya rona, hoya rona. Fuga, fuga, fuga. Hoya rona, hoya rona, hoya rona. Karicha sang makwala cheche, acheche acheche le morao, hoya rona ba pelo tse thata. Chatsang makwala cheche, acheche acheche le morao, hoya rona. Pagam. Hoya rona, hoya rona, hoya rona. Hoya rona, hoya rona, hoya rona. Hoya rona, Maxawalala, rona, hoya rona. Sapucha sang makwala cheche, acheche acheche le raho, hoya rona.
Thank you, comrades. Amandla. Remurao. Thank you, comrades. Thank you, comrades. Let's go back to our seats, comrades. Let's go back to our seats, comrades. Thank you very much. Thanks, Comrade ZV. Okay. Thank you, comrades. Let us thank Comrade ZV for such a powerful declaration. Let's give a pause. Thank you, Comrade ZV. Comrades, we are now going to request for a mover and a seconder. Can you get a hand? Numsa?
Amanda.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Is it controlled here? I don't know.
No, Comrade President, we wanted to say that we want to move the declaration with a small addition that says where we deal with corruption in the public sector, we just want to extend that to private sector. Those are colluders, they are very corrupt. That's all.
Thank you, Numsa. Thank you very much. ZV, Comrade ZV, have you captured that? Okay, thank you very much. A mover, comrades. Let's get a mover. I mean the seconder, sorry. Ditau. Let's get a mic, comrades. I think this side where Numsa is. Okay. Thank you, comrade. Thank you, Comrade Klut.
No, thank you, Comrade President. You will pardon us, Comrade President. We are very much excited. We might have missed during the presentation the issue that we want to add as a rider in support of NUMSA.
Yes.
In that there was an absolute commitment during the Congress, which we thought that it will form part of the declaration, that we shall all hit the ground running in as far as establishing structures of the federation in region, provinces, and locals. We think it is important that that point is captured in the declaration as a demonstration of our character. As we said, we will want to be a grassroots-based organization. With that addition, Comrade President, we would sincerely support NUMSA's proposal to adopt the declaration of the Congress. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Comrade. Thank you very much. Comrades, are there any more FAU? What now? Do you want to add?
Oh, we were seconding. So was the comrade seconding?
Yes, he was second.
Okay, we just wanted to say we must add the bankment issue in the private sector, specifically in banking also to go with the GEMS issue. Otherwise, Amandla. We support.
Amandla. Thank you very much, comrade. Comrades, that brings us to the end of the declaration. We are now going to invite our president. Comrade President, the floor is yours, Chief. Come, the masses are waiting. The masses are waiting. SAFTU is waiting. Thank you very much, comrades. Over to you, Comrade President. Okay, sorry, comrades. Hold on, comrades. FAU, do you still have something to contribute?
Thanks, President. We are just wanting to add, without opposing, on the issue of farm workers in relation to the national minimum wage, in that we are objecting, because we had been discussing that. We just wanted that addition in terms of the objection of the project of Maposa and the net leg in relation to the minimum wage.
Thank you very much, FAU. Thank you. Amandla, Comrade President.
Othina lo mntwana siyamthanda sifuna ukumenza ikomanisa isu thina lo mntwana siyamthanda sifuna ukumenza ikomanisa sifuna ukumenza isoja sifuna ukumenza ikomanisa sifuna ukumenza isoja sifuna ukumenza ikomanisa thina lo mntwana samthanda sifuna ukumenza ikomanisa thina lo mntwana samthanda sifuna ukumenza ikomanisa sifuna ukumenza isoja sifuna ukumenza ikomanisa efuna ukumenza isoja efuna ukumenza
Amandla. Amandla. Awethu. Matla. Arona. Viva SAFTU, SAFTU, viva. Viva SAFTU, SAFTU, viva. Forward with socialism, forward. Forward with the campaigning SAFTU, forward. Phansi nge-imperialism, phansi. Phansi with capitalism, phansi. Phansi nge-corruption, phansi. Matla. Arona. Good evening, comrades. I see a lot of tired faces, and understandable so. Firstly, allow me, on behalf of this new giant, mighty, campaigning, red, Marxist, Leninist, socialist, SAFTU.
We just want to start by conveying our sincere and deepest condolences to the families of the 19 young children who died in Mpumalanga this weekend. And we want to say to the families, this federation is with you during this difficult time. And as we pass these condolences to the families, we want to say to the government that you have a responsibility to make sure that the transport that is transporting our children to school is safe. And we are calling upon you to make sure that we do not see another massacre of innocent children on the roads of this country, failing which you might have to deal with SAFTU. We are tired of burying our children. You cannot just come after and want to offer counseling to our families after we have lost our children. So Angie, Mutsech, please sort this mess. We are really tired. Thank you very much, comrades. Let me first start by greeting all SAFTU national office bearers, SAFTU founding affiliates, Leadership Collective, SAFTU affiliates in waiting, Leadership Collective, SAFTU founding Congress delegates and official observers, representative of civil society formations and organizations, invited guests, and the media. On behalf of the South African Federation of Trade Unions, national office bearers, I want to thank all delegates, observers, guests, media, and workers of this hotel for having made this possible, for the work to happen, to give birth to our new federation. All the leaders and officials of our full and soon to be full affiliates, all those who have worked long hours and mostly without pay for SAFTU, I thank you for the work you have done to give the South African working class a new home, a real revolutionary home, SAFTU. Special thanks and big hand of applause are due to all the members of the steering committee and its convener who worked so hard to bring us to where we are today. We must thank NUMSA for its generosity in so many ways, and especially in offering the new union a place to operate from. We, your first national office bearers of SAFTU, thank this Congress for the absolute trust you have placed in us by unanimously and democratically electing us into office. It is done. You have done it. You have given birth to the South African Federation of Trade Unions. It is time to work now for the working class in South Africa and to do our part for the world working class. By giving birth to SAFTU, what have we promised to give to the working class in South Africa in this founding Congress of SAFTU? Millions of workers in South Africa unemployed in factories, in government offices, in schools, hospitals, and clinics, as policemen and women, on farms, slaving on streets, in our townships and cities, in informal trades, slaving in homes, as domestic workers, and yes, millions searching for work every day have longed for the birth of the genuine Labour Federation to unite their efforts in the struggle to improve their lives. Viva SAFTU, viva! In this Congress, we have given birth, comrades, to their new hope, the South African Federation of Trade Union, SAFTU. We know that less than 24% of these workers belong to unions. Even of these 24%, not all are happy with the service and with the unions they belong to. We have promised to offer this workers' trade union service of the highest standard by the affiliates of SAFTU. Forward with service to members, forward. Forward with service to members, forward. More than 76% of the South African working class is not organized in unions. In this inaugural Congress of SAFTU, we have promised to recruit and organize these workers into affiliates of SAFTU, to give them a comforting and protecting home from the heartless exploitation of the bosses. We know that millions of South African workers cannot find work. Millions of those who work are poor. even as they have worked. We have promised to fight unemployment, low wages, and for a living wage in this historic Congress. Forward with living wage, forward. Forward with living wage, forward. Mass poverty and extreme inequality, mass poverty and extreme inequality are the daily experience of millions of South African working class. In this Congress, we have noted the historical roots of the racialized and gender poverty and inequalities, and we have vowed through the resolutions we have taken to work to wage the necessary political war to change this reality. Racism is well and alive 23 years after 1994. Passing a racism, panse. Passing a racism, panse. We have resolved to wage war on racism using both our federation, our affiliates, and the organized and united political power of the working class. Women, especially black women, suffer the most poverty, unemployment, and inequality. We are determined to abolish the social and economic conditions and the discrimination which women in general and black women in particular suffer daily. Millions of black youth are condemned to a life of inferior or no skills and education, unemployment, poverty, alcohol, drug abuse, disease, violence, a prison life with no hope of ever escaping from their miserable fate. SAFTU in this inaugural Congress has vowed to take up the struggle to abolish this miserable and pathetic situation of youth in general and black youth in particular. We have shared knowledge of the conditions of the working class in the world, in Africa and here in Africa itself. We have observed the fragmentation, divisions, and weakening of the organizations of the working class in this period, especially trade unions, and how this has grown the power of the enemies of the working class. We have agreed in this Congress, confirmed by the very act of giving birth to SAFTU, that we shall work for the unity of the working class and their organizations. In the working class, or if the working class are to defeat the system of capitalism and all the dehumanizing conditions this system imposes on the world working class. So by its admission, the ANC tells us in 2017 budget speech that since 1994, income growth has been uneven. The bottom 20% have benefited from social grants and better access to service. The top 20% have benefited from the rising demands for skills and pay increases. Those in the middle have been left behind. Wealth remains high or highly concentrated. 95% of wealth is in the hands of 10% of the population. You would have seen from the report of the Interim Steering Committee, the individuals, stinking rich individuals who are listed there. 35% of the labor force are unemployed or have given up hope of finding work. Despite our progress in education, over half of all children in grade 5 cannot yet read adequately in any language. Is this true, teachers? Is this true? More than half of all school leavers each year enter the labor market without a senior certificate pass. 75% of these will be unemployed 5 years later. Our towns and cities remain divided, and poverty is concentrated in townships and rural areas. Now, what does this mean for post-1994 South Africa? 65% or more of South Africans are poor post-1994. Now, this is a crisis, comrades. The majority, 90% of South Africans, own a meager 5% of South African wealth 23 years after 1994. More than a third of South African working class cannot find work, and many have given hope of ever finding work. I'll repeat, more than a third of the South African working class cannot find work, and many have given up hope of ever finding work. Our school system condemns more than half of grade 5 children to illiteracy by denying them the skill to read. After 12 years of schooling, more than half of school leavers have nothing to show for their stay in school. They have no senior certificate, and 5 years later, a mere 25% will have experienced work. Maybe all this is because there are teachers who are teaching children how to hate the ANC. And you are keeping them busy. Teaching them how to hate the ANC. South African communities are 23 years after 1994, still neatly divided along racial lines, and poverty is predominantly African. Today, the chances of the ANC government or any other capitalist South African government ever changing this ugly reality we all know are zero. Only the power of the organized working class, led by its own leaders, drawn from the ranks of the working class itself, can change this situation. In order to make SAFTU the fighting federation, it must be on my own behalf, and I know I speak on behalf of the national office bearers. This founding Congress have elected, do make 10 pledges to the working class of South Africa in general and members of affiliates of SAFTU in particular. That one, our priority shall be to place the resources and collective power of our federation at the service of our affiliates so that they grow and truly become unions that effectively provide their members with service of the higher standards. Two, we shall defend, if need be, with all our lives, the fighting independence of our revolutionary and socialist-oriented federation. 3, we shall protect the values and practices of worker control, full democracy, and equality as the defining feature of our federation. 4, we shall advance and defend trade unions and worker rights and offer solidarity with all workers in their struggles for better wages and conditions. 5, we shall protect the right to work and higher quality of life for the working class. 6, we shall promote militancy in fighting for the working class and the poor and actively campaign for change, working together with organizations sharing our vision for society. 7, we shall uproot and make tribalism, racism, xenophobia, and sexism extremely unwelcome in our federation. 8, we shall leave no stone unturned in our effort to achieve maximum unity of all workers. 9, we shall practice zero tolerance for corruption, fraud, maladministration, abuse of power and resource of the Federation, and all such destructive and immoral practices. We shall tirelessly promote anti-imperialism, internationalism, and socialism. It is done. There is no more, or there is no turning back. The South African Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, is here. Go home and travel safely now and tell everyone in our communities, churches, schools, colleges, and universities, all social gatherings, including bars, clubs, funerals, in factories, offices, and roadblocks, and so on, that SAFTU is the federation for all the working class of South Africa, be they black, white, young, old, women, unemployed, formally, informally employed. Saying to everyone you meet that there is hope once more for the downtrodden, the poor, and the working class in South Africa, for SAFTU is their steel shield and truly red hot spear. Now allow me, comrades, as I close, to share with you two very important quotes from Lenin. As we have said, we are a working class. And it is important that as a working class, we gain class consciousness. Now, there are two things that Lenin is assisting us as we gain class consciousness. He says there are two things that, or which the working class needs to know, is that during this struggle, the working class as a class must make sure that they seize power. Working class must seize power. What do you do after seizing power? You turn the means of production into state property. He says that is the first assignment. Now, we are in a revolution, comrades. And a revolution, aksum shadu. 2016 or 2019 is around the corner. And we have resolved as this Congress that the working class must find itself a political home. So it is very important that as a class, and as we work towards 2019, we make sure that we take members of our communities with us towards 2019. No vote should be wasted. We are living in a capitalist South Africa. And our assignment is to make sure that we overthrow the capitalist system and replace it with a socialist or a socialism. That is our task. And when Lenin defined capitalism, he says in a democratic republic or a democratic republic is the best political shell for capitalism. And therefore, once capitalism has gained possession of this very best shell, it establishes its power so securely, so firmly, that no change or person, institution, or parties in the bourgeoisie democratic republic can shake it. So, to think that by removing Zuma, comrade, we would have conquered capitalism, it's a myth. To think that by replacing Zuma with Cyril Ramaphosa will all of a sudden change the system is also a myth. To believe that by bringing in Nkosazana Zuma would have destroyed capitalism, it is also a myth. Because capitalism, comrades, is demonic. It's satanic. It is evil. It's not something that can just be removed by taking one person and putting another. The ANC have removed Mbeki, replacing him with Kgalema Motlate, then replacing Kgalema Motlate with the problem that is confronting us today in South Africa, Jacob Zuma. Nene was replaced by a weekend special, which was replaced by Godin, who is now replaced by this young, very dark man, who is telling us that there is no need to change any policy. So there's no way capitalism and neoliberalism can be replaced under the ANC government. That is what he's telling us. So we need to do one thing, comrades, and one thing only. Remove the ANC government, replace the ANC government with a working class biased government which will carry the mandate of the working class and the poor of this country. And we are not apologetic about that. We are not apologetic about that. So as I conclude, comrades, let me thank you all as we go back home. This Congress is officially closed. I thank you.
We're asking the technical backup to please bear with us just for another 30, 40 minutes. We will now proceed from this platform to do a press conference with the media as we bid all of you, comrades, the delegates, goodbye. And that's our first task to end the night. So we will remain in our seats and do a press briefing, allow the media to ask us questions using the advantage of the technical backup we have here. Our apologies to our comrades at the back. Thank you very much for understanding. Bye-bye, comrades. If you're staying to listen, then stay quietly. Can we request one mic, a roving mic, to come this side and the media must come into the front row? If there's still media left here, by the way. The senior broadcaster is still here.
Testing 1, 2.
So could I welcome the media? I know a lot of you have already left, and we apologize for the lateness, but we will go ahead anyway. The procedure will be that the new General Secretary will just make a very few short remarks, and then we will invite you to ask your questions, because of course you've already heard the declaration and the new President's address, and we look forward to hearing your questions.
Thank you very much, Patrick. I feel that I must just explain the logo that you're going to see very, very much more frequently as we move forward. This logo was subjected into an intense discussion amongst the unions over a period of time, as you would have seen that we had many drafts before the finalization of the logo, as you see on the screen. So let's explain the logo for everyone to understand. The first thing that we're explaining is that there is a flag that is on top of everything. And the color of the flag is red. The president, when he was making his closing remarks, said that we in SAFTU wants to apologize to no one that we are a red union. We are socialist orientated. We are about advancing the struggles of the working class in a context of a capitalist exploitation that we have vowed to struggle against and to defeat. That's what the red color means. It represents our blood, it represents our tears, it represents our exploitation, it represents our suffering, but it also represents our resilience to fight against our exploitation. The worker hosting the flag is in a helmet and overalls. Represent the industrial proletariat in the economy. South Africa's economy is dominated by private ownership, by a capitalist system that continues to suppress, oppress, and exploit the working people. Thus, industrial proletariat in the majority of workers in South Africa. The worker who is on the right of where I'm sitting of that industrial proletariat represent a number of things. The first one that worker represent is our principle of non-racialism. That's a white worker. The second that worker represent is our principle of non-sexism. That's a women. The third thing that worker represent is professionals or white-collar workers that should belong to the Federation SAFTU. So in one, that worker represent three things. The worker holding a hammer and a flag written organized or staff is a young person, a young worker, represent the need for the Federation to continuously invest in the future by ensuring that young people play a leading role in the Federation. As you can see, I'm surrounded by young people today. This is their Federation, this is the future that we are building. I'm one or the only person that is beginning to gray now in the Federation. And the Federation has deliberately mixed experience and the youth to make sure that it remains vibrant, militant, but it stays with the changing times and doesn't get itself trapped into the past. That's what that young worker represents there. And all of these workers are turning the wheel, the yellow wheel that represents the economy of South Africa. All of that economy sitting on our country, South Africa, and South Africa represents our continent. This is just part of the continent, as you would have seen. We are declaring ourselves not only as a federation that is inspired by Marxism and Leninism, but we have also declared ourselves to be Pan-African, but Pan-African guided by our Marxism. So that's what that South Africa means, that South Africa belongs to all of the people that live in it, but at the same time recognizing that South Africa itself, just like the rest of the continent, are the continents that was decolonized, whose people were subjugated by a colonial system, and in our case in South Africa, by also apartheid. That's the flag, that's the logo, that's what we're going to be using to inspire the rest of the workers to unite with us as we move forward and charting a new way forward for South Africa's workers. And I felt that I must just break the ice by explaining this logo to all of the members of the media, and then ask Patrick to invite the members of the media to ask questions to all of us who are in the panel. This is not a Vavi Federation. In fact, I'm going to refuse to answer any question now. I've got enough collective now to carry the can. And so, comrades, media, by the way, we're going to recruit you this week. We're starting with you. At SABC, in the print media, we're going to the NCA. we will go to even our friends in AN7 who were not here. But we welcome their absence, if they are still absent, and instead of getting all of the distortion that they were going to do about what is happening. These people can declare us being 20 whilst we 2,000 or 200 people. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for the splendid work that we have been doing over the past 3 days. And in covering this Congress, lots of South African workers now know this movement because of the work that we have done, and I'm sure that they have listened to your presentations and they've listened to your stories covering all of the discussions. And one thing that you should give to us, we allowed the Congress to be opened, or we opened the Congress to the journalists up to the issues of the finances, so that we set a precedent even for the future, that we should never hide anything to workers. We have embraced the principle of transparency, of accountability. The Congress is about accounting to workers who millions of them are not here. And thank you very much for cooperating, and thank you in particular for staying for 2 more hours covering the conclusions of the Congress. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sweli. So you heard what he said. Please direct your questions to all the office bearers. Some of them may not yet be media superstars, but I can promise you they will within a few weeks. And you'll be kicking yourself that you didn't get a good quote from them tonight on their first appearance. So as usual, could I ask you to introduce yourselves and who you represent? Who would like to be first? I'm afraid the light makes it a bit difficult for me to see. So we'll take the lady first and then the gentleman in the red stripes.
I got the mic first. My name is Eric Naki. I'm from the Citizen newspaper. You say that you are an independent, you are independent of any political party or political influence. I have been wondering, because I also heard the president saying that, talking about the 2019 elections, and when he came to that part, he did not elaborate as to how are you going to direct your members to vote in 2019. Do you envisage that by 2019 you would have had a workers' party, or are you going to leave your members to choose which party they vote for, and therefore they go back to the ANC?
Thank you very much. Could you hand it to...
To Helen Isolo from Power FM. Just firstly, are you going to be trying to affiliate to to become part of the NEDLAC? I understand that will take a change to the NEDLAC Act. And then also, there was some discussion around how you're going to deal with the issue of poaching, and you said that you weren't going to allow unions to organize outside of their scope. However, there are quite a few unions in the same sector, so how are you going to encourage them to merge? And then finally, to the president, can you perhaps just explain, are you a shop steward at NUMSA? If you can just perhaps give us just a bit more about your background. Thank you.
Olim Gambi from ENCA. The first question, I guess any office bearer can take it, and it regards the closed-door meetings. As much as you say, GS, the Congress was open to the media, which indeed is true, but there were closed-door meetings on the leadership question. Now, this, of course, has culminated in a leadership that's emerged unopposed. In your view, is this a good start to this new federation? That's question number one. Number two, directed to the General Secretary. Mr. Vavi, you enjoy a very close relationship to the majority union in this federation, which is NUMSA. Do you, or would you say your position that you hold now has had anything to do with that close relationship? And lastly, still on this question of the relationship, do you believe that your closeness to the NUMSA leadership could potentially harm your standing within this new federation in relation to the rest of the affiliates? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll now ask the top table to respond. I think the very last question was very specific, but I would urge other members, other office bearers to answer some of the other questions.
Yeah. Thank you, Patrick. Maybe let me first deal with the question that was directed to me as to whether I am a shop steward. Not sure if I heard the question correctly. Not sure if I heard your question correctly. Yes, indeed. I am a shop steward. I am a worker who is employed by one state-owned company. Would like to know the name. Okay. I am an employee of ESCOM. I'm a shop steward elected by members on the shop floor. I was also privileged to be elected by ordinary members from the NUMSA structures as a local chairperson, as a regional chairperson of NUMSA, up to where I am today, deployed by the metal workers. So yes, I am a shop steward.
Thanks. May I just deal with one or two questions? One that has to deal with the question around the independence of the federation from employers and, for that matter, political influence. I mean, you'd appreciate that during the Congress we have discussed this issue and resolved, primarily, or rather firstly, as a principle of this federation, that will remain a truly independent federation, free or of influence whatsoever, be it politically or for that matter by employers. But that does not necessarily make us a federation of trade unions that will not be able to engage on political issues. Hence, we have been saying that doesn't then suggest that we will be apolitical. To that extent, the Congress have debated this matter and resolved, the matter now being whether or not would we be in a position to entertain, which is not the case, entertain any close relations with any political party. There is no such. There wouldn't be such. Therefore, the Congress then felt proper that it engaged further. But the engagement that is going to be taking place is on the basis of a formation or a process towards a formation of a true working class formation that will then advance the interest of workers and the working class at large. So that's a political project that I think we're going to be embarking upon immediately after this Congress. Definitely 2019 is coming. I don't believe the Federation will say to workers they must vote with their hearts at the ballot box. I mean, we represent a particular class of a particular interest. I understand that we have resolved to establish a political commission that will also deal with ideological related matters. And I believe it will be out of that particular conversation by the Federation that we'll be able to pronounce ourselves clearer on other matters. Mind you, this is a launching Congress, so we may not be in a position to resolve in totality all matters that naturally an organization of this magnitude would be able to do. So it's a matter that is going to be engaged further. The second aspect also, which to an extent talks to the set of principles or rather cooperations that we have agreed upon as this Congress, the question of poaching. The Congress have resolved that we need to ensure that unions that are founding affiliates of this federation remain organizing within their scopes that they have literally registered. Of course, you can't run away from the fact that those sectors might be cross-cutting. That you would have one union that organizes in a sector where you have got other unions existing, and for that matter, it may also be organizing on another sector where there are other unions. We have endorsed, rather adopted, the principles that were developed by the steering committee in terms of how we are going to be cooperating as trade unions. Our primary target is not to inter-organize from this union to that union. Is the 76% or so of workers that do not belong to any trade unions. That is what is going to be driving our cooperation in ensuring that we don't necessarily get stuck on the question of poaching. To that extent, we have resolved to further review, not necessarily review, but look into the scopes that are there such that we have a total representation of workers across the sectors of the economy. And there is a mini kind of research that the Congress have resolved that it should be undertaken. Colleagues will add on other issues. And Zolenzi Mavavi doesn't have to overwork me on my first day. He's the General Secretary, I'm the Deputy General Secretary. I don't recall the President approving his leave. So he must answer the questions. Yeah,
I was hoping that Thabo will answer the question that Toli is asking about my relationship with NUMSA, as to whether once I have made them to feel uncomfortable about that relationship, and maybe you will answer that later. But let me just add one specific issue. There is no decision coming from this conference to establish a workers' party. There is a decision by this Congress to engage with the question of political power and the working class through the Political and Ideological Commission. We don't know what will be the result of that discussion. All unions would be allowed to engage with that discussion, and you were here, some unions already pronounced what positions they will take to that Political and Ideological Commission. NUMSA was not alone in calling for the creation of a working class party that will champion the interest of the workers. It had support. 3 or 4 other unions came in support of that position. That's what is now going to the Political and Ideological Commission. And once we have dealt with that discussion, we don't even know what will be the time frames. Whether it will be to rush towards 2019, we don't know. Let's allow that Political and Ideological Commission to do its work. And that's where we are going with that matter. On the close relationship, no. In my special thanks to NUMSA for playing a catalyst role, as well as other unions, I also indicated that
contrary to me treating them with kid gloves, we've had lots of rough discussions and fights privately, where I would have expressed this view and that view, and where they would have expressed this and that view. That's the nature of our relationship. We are not friends. We are comrades. And comrades do not enslave one another in terms of that your view is automatically my view. It doesn't work like that. Comrades engage with one another and they come to a conclusion. And I think that the declaration and the resolutions adopted today is the landing point of all of the discussions that have been happening in private, in public, everywhere else. And we're now completely united behind the resolution. The steering committee and Comrade Thabo and Comrade Paketi in particular were members of that steering committee, will attest to the fact that the reason why we succeeded to convince 40 unions to form part of this federation was because we ensured that everybody feels at home and that no one feels belittled and or reduced into some junior player that is accompanying any big union. You would have been here when unions were proudly declaring that there is no big or small unions. All unions of the federation are equal founding members of the federation that must do everything. The big ones have a responsibility to provide material resources to the small ones so that they can grow. And that's the nature of our relationship going forward. So there's no big brother and the small brother, cousin, stepson and stepdaughter syndrome in the federation. And the president said, we will keep a united movement. And he gave us 10 marching orders. And one of them says, keep the movement united. And we heard you, President, and that's exactly what we intend to do. In terms of, we've answered all of your questions. You want to answer?
Okay, I think there was a question relating to issues of closed-door meetings, if I'm correct. Well, our steering committees has been taking place, over the past 2 years. And I think it has been closed-door meetings. And one of the reasons why we invite the IEC here is to check the issue of independence in terms of elections and to check whether the elections are free or not free. So we didn't actually fix any elections here. Those are just ordinary meetings that we hold from now and then. So there's nothing wrong with us holding meetings from now and then. So elections were free and fair as declared by the IEC.
I say also, Xoli, there were a number of committee meetings that were taking place parallel to the Congress. One of those was the steering committee, the meetings of the presidents and the general secretaries, the credentials committee, the constitutional committee, the resolutions committee. All of them, you didn't know that they were taking place unless we were announcing from the podium. And you would have seen the work that they delivered. The Constitution now is not anything but a product of 100% consensus. And where there was no consensus, we have now deferred those issues into the Central Committee. The resolutions were a product of a consensus following a very robust discussion in the plenary, and we're now going to, I'm sure in the next 7 days, we will be able to give you the final set of the resolutions that we will use to report back to our members in terms of what is the result of this. There was a robust discussion and lobbying by affiliates for many, many weeks running up to this Congress about the type of a leadership collective. On the 14th of March, as part of that discussion, the steering committee developed a set of principles that are going to guide the lobbying amongst the unions. And this is what was necessitating a discussion between the unions. And that discussion took place privately, and a lot of times, maybe whilst you were present, you couldn't see how people were really lobbying and negotiating with one another. At the end of that, there was a consensus about this leadership collective that is on table. And this leadership collective is not a product of a negotiated settlement amongst the leaders. This leadership was elected through a mandate that members provided to all of the unions that form part of the federation, the founding unions, the 24. None of us feel that we are compromised. No, we had nominations from our unions, we had nominations from other unions, and the unions talked to one another until that mandate could be managed such a manner that the 6 positions are occupied by only 6 persons. And so that's how we feel on that matter. Obviously, we avoided a divisive contest in this Congress. We didn't vote once. This was, as the steering committee members declared, our wedding. Nobody goes into a wedding, and whilst the Mfundisi conducts it, they start to say who brings how many children and how many furnishers and what properties into the wedding. Those things are discussed after, once the union has been agreed. And I think that approach of avoiding a contest was a right approach. We were uniting, but that's not a precedent for the future. In the future, there will always be lobbying, by the way. There will always be twisting of the arms behind the scenes of unions negotiating with one another in order to produce a package of leadership that is capable of taking us forward. That's not undemocratic as long as that is based on the mandates unions are receiving from their members. Moving forward now, we will obviously, as instructed, set up provincial structures and set up local structures. Let me tell you why, Koli, you are confusing us with a normal Congress. We started to do things of a normal movement even before we were formed. And that's what creates maybe confusion. We have been in NEDLEC. We have to report about NEDLEC. We have fought alongside the outsourcing must fall. We have to report about that. We have fought alongside the fees must fall. We have had discussions with the informal sector. We've had many things that we were forced by the circumstances to go in and fill the gap that have been left wide open by a captured COSATU, which does no longer play any role towards ensuring that workers are given a voice on any matter. As you would know, their only song now is Ramaphosa. Once they're singing the song Ramaphosa, we will be tackling labor brokers. Whilst they are forming part of the factions to the ANC conference, we are going to be marching against ETOLs. Whilst they are looking at which faction is going to have the power to distribute patronage, we will be taking up a living wage campaign and undoing the ungodly Nicodemus behind the workers' back settlement at NEDLEC that resulted into them officializing the poverty of workers to a 20 rands an hour and 3,500. So that's what we will do from now on. We'll be recruiting whilst they are screaming at each other and threatening to dismiss one another, we will not mind about who is being dismissed by who. We are doing what the trade unions should do. And that's what is going to be different between us and those clowns.
Are there any more questions? I think given the time, we should just have one more round. Yes, again here. Any others? This will be the last one then. Has someone got the mic, please? Because we can't hear even up here.
Okay, hi. Sorry, my name's Tembi Lackett. I'm writing for an independent left publication called The Jacobin. So in a lot of the talks throughout the 3 days, you spoke about targeting the unorganized workers, the over 70% who are unorganized. And we've heard COSATU say this for maybe 10 years. So what is actually going to be different about your organization, your organizing strategy, very concretely, what will be different? In the draft constitution, connected to that, you also have a national working committee, which includes the unemployed, informal traders, other groups like that. And so what kind of power does this working committee have in terms of the direction of the federation? You also have in the draft constitution something about the general secretary and the deputy general secretary not earning more than the wage of a skilled worker. Can you speak a bit more concretely what that means? Are you going to be doing lifestyle audits of the national office bearers, for example? And then do you think that it is a weakness of the new federation that there is no trade union representing the extractivist industries? And how are you going to deal with that? So there's no...
Sorry, not representing which industries?
The extractivist industries, which the economy is built on, so mining. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, if you can just answer my question on NEDLAC. Have you started those processes? And then also, if you can just explain what kind of support are you going to be giving to the smaller unions? Are you going to be giving them logistical, material support? Thank you.
Thanks very much. Oli again from ENCA. Just one quick question based on your constitution. It says that you will not allow your leaders to develop a social distance and develop lifestyles that are completely separate from those that you lead. What does this mean in practice? How will you effect this in practice? Thank you.
Yeah, the comrades are free to answer. COSATU said the same about service, protect workers, worker control, democratic, militant, independent, all of that. They have said that for many, many years, and they practiced that for many, many years until the demon of power began to be what dictated their practice. And so this is the issue that affected COSATU. When okay, let me say this. This is how I describe the COSATU crisis. It's the same crisis that affected the white workers in the 1970s and 1980s. White workers became part of the establishment. They had enjoyed the protections of apartheid from 1921 after the mine workers' strike. They were cautioned. They were regarded as workers, whilst other workers were regarded as machines. They were protected. There was a race-based affirmative action. Parastatals were created for white workers to eliminate unemployment of them in the economy. The apartheid government went out of its way to protect them from the influence of the rest of the workers and launched a serious ideological-based onslaught at the propaganda level against socialism, such that many white workers believed that protecting capitalism was part of their national responsibility to a cohesion of a white society. So they became the defenders of the status quo that was unfortunately excluding the majority of the workers. Come democracy, the COSATU affiliates, who had played a very important role in the defeat of that apartheid system, formed part of the alliance, a governing allowance. Its leaders formed part of the government from day one up to this moment. Slowly, COSATU saw itself as being part of the establishment, and it found comfort in the establishment, in the status quo. It enjoyed the special protections through patronage networks, as well as through all manner of other systems of promoting particular union leaders to occupy positions of power, from the school heads of departments to the HODs to the inspectors, and up to the senior bureaucrats in the Department of Education, for example. Can say the same thing in the police, in the correctional services, everywhere else. So the COSATU became the managers of the system. In the process of them becoming the managers of the system, they started to lose the ball. For example, one of the issues that led to NUM losing its status as the prime union in South Africa was because its shop stewards got co-opted by management and became effectively HR managers of the mining system, who decided on which company must be handed over the contract of cleaning, of providing food, of medical aid and provident funds. It became part of the establishment. And once you get shop stewards to form part of the establishment in the context of a capitalist system, you're going to have a leadership that is completely corrupted and co-opted by the capitalist system itself. And unfortunately, that's what happened to the NUM. Before you knew it, they were taking bribes to employ other workers. And no one could be employed except through the shop stewards. Before you knew it, they were taking bribes as to which company will provide services in the context of the mining. And the more that happened, the more that alienated them from their base, which is the workers, such that they would not then take up genuine grievances workers were having in the workplace. Hence you saw the Marikana strike, or the strikes throughout that region. And that's why AMCU grew so rapidly into the rest of the gold, coal, and other sectors of the economy. COSATU is part of the ruling elites in our society. And it is benefiting from the patronage network that is dispensed by the various factions of the ANC. And that's why you hear less and less militant response to the crisis of unemployment from that quarter, because they've been sucked into the status quo. And they have every reason now to defend the status quo. And that's why they will die naturally, one by one. And because workers feel neglected, and that's why the unions have lost trust that they should enjoy amongst workers. So I felt that I must explain that more comprehensively as to what is going to be different between us and the Federation. We are a red union, not by a slogan. We're going to be leading struggles of working people against their exploitation on the ground all the time. And we hate the system of capitalism. We don't seek an accommodation in the system. We seek its destruction. And we don't want an accommodation with the status quo where we manage the system of capitalism together with our ruling elites as they're doing in COSATU through the alliance. We want an independent trade union movement capable of uniting all of the workers in South Africa. Second point about the Constitution, the Constitution and how we're going to do this, my comrade from the left. You see, that's part of the area that distinguishes us and COSATU. We want to be a labor movement. That's why you will hear us talking about we are a movement. We are not a trade union, a narrow trade union. We are a movement. Why so? Because in our Constitution, we, as a matter of principle, seek to ensure that this leadership, through an innovative structure that we are putting in place called the National Working Committee, will be able to coordinate the struggles of the unemployed workers fighting shoulder to shoulder with the rest of workers in the formal economy. Coordinating the struggles of the most marginalized workers in the informal sector, the workers who are marginalized who are being casualized, who are being labor brokered, and who are facing extreme levels of capitalist exploitation. We will be sitting together with them, and as far as getting the students, the youth organizations, the pensioners, or what we call the retirees, so that we don't lose any experience. We contain all of the experience and we combine with this youth to make sure that the trade union movement does not only end up being a movement of the workers from the big workplaces. It retains its character as a movement of all working people in the country and gives protection to the informal sector and take up the struggles of the informal sector, the struggles of the unemployed workers with the same vigor as we will take up the struggles for wages and improve